I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay, so let's start. Hello and welcome everyone. So today we'll be taking up the topic IFRS 8 from IFRS. And as you all know that nowadays whenever as we are going global, MNCs are a very normal things that are happening. Nowadays, any company cannot survive running with a single product. Diversification is a necessity in today's market. To secure itself from the tax and counter tax of the competitors on any product, especially in a multi-product company or a company operating in different geographical areas, traditional methods of financial disclosures to the shareholders could not depict the complete picture regarding the risk and return. Hence, there has arisen a need for segment reporting. Segment reporting in accordance to IFRS 8 will be mandatory for the annual financial statements covering periods beginning on or after 1st of January 2009. And this standard has specifically replaced IAS 14, that is segment reporting. So the objective of IFRS 8 is to require public companies to disclose the information about their business activities, the economic environments in which they operate, their major customer base, the geographical areas in which they operate on the same basis as it is used by the management to make the decisions about the allocation of the company's resources and to assess the performance of the business. Information is based on the internal management reports, both in the identification of the operating segments and measurement of disclosed segment information that are effective for an annual reporting period beginning on or after 1st of January 2009, as I've already informed you about. IFRS 8 introduces a management reporting approach to identify and measure the results of a reportable operating segment. As the measurement of a segment results reported is no longer dictated by the measurement and recognition criteria of financial reporting standards, reconciliations are required where information being presented to the management differs from the IFRS information in the primary financial statements. Now, business segments can be bifurcated under various segmentation. Segmentation really doesn't, there are no IFRS 8 specified segments in which segmenting can be done by any entity. It is totally dependable or depending on the entity as to what is the segment that they choose. Like for example, a segment might be a product division, it can be a service department or a branch that is located in some other area, or a subsidiary or a geographical location, economic environment working, or anything. For example, when I'm talking about the business segments, a business segment is a distinguishable component of an entity, but it may not particularly include product differentiation only. For example, if I am an automobile dealer, then automatics and manual cars can be my scale of differentiating the segment. Though it includes the same product, but they are different segments. Now, when I come down to geographical segmenting, geographical segmenting is also a distinguishable component of an entity which provides services and products in different economic environments. For example, if I am an MNC, I can distinguish my entity segment on the basis of the economical and political conditioning of a country, like which countries follow democracy and which are under a military ruled. Also, I can bifurcate on the basis of the currency or the currency risk, like countries that follow US dollars and that follow euros, So it does not specifically means geography as in literally. Now, after we have done an overview on the IFRS 8, one thing that we need to see is what is the scope and what all the entities need to follow IFRS 8. Not all entities are required to disclose segmenting, that is segment information, in accordance to IFRS 8. IFRS 8 applies to entities that are public or in the process of going public. It applies to the separate or individual financial statements of an entity and to the consolidated financial statement of a group with parent if the listed parent company's financial statements are presented together with the group's financial statements, then no different or a separate segmental information is required for the parent. So should I conclude from this that only separate disclosures are only required in the consolidated financial statements of the group? No, this is not the case. An entity whose debt or equity instruments are traded in a public market is required to present segment disclosures in its individual financial statements. Segment information is also required in the consolidated financial statements of a group when the parent's debt or equity instruments are traded in the public market. But if the parent's individual financial statements are presented together with the group's consolidated financial statements, so separate segmental disclosures for the parent, as in specifically the parent, are not required. Then any entity which is in the process of filing its financial statements with the relevant regulatory authorities to issue any class of its instruments in a public market, it also applies to that. And any entity that files financial statements with the Securities Commission or other regulatory organization for the purpose of issuing any class of instrument in a public market or whose instruments are already floated in the market. Now coming down to segmenting. IFRS 8 is all about segment reporting. We've understood who needs to present that, who needs to provide disclosures, and what is it covering actually, and what is the core principle of IFRS 8. Now we shall rather understand what are segments, as in specifically segments that are defined by IFRS 8 that needs to be presented. An operating segment is defined as a component of an entity that engages in business activities from which it may earn revenues or incur expenses. Including the revenues and expenses are included in this that relate to intercompany transactions and whose operating results are regularly reviewed by the chief operating decision maker to make decisions about resources to be allocated to the segment and assess its performance, and of which discrete financial information is available. Most entities will be able to identify their operating segments easily by referring to these characteristics. However, when it is not the case, when they are unable to define a segment easily by referring these characteristics, if the CODM, that is the chief operating decision maker, uses more than one set of segment information, other factors may enable the operating segments to be identified. When the CODM, before applying this IFRS 8, used to or the person, the committee, whoever the CODM is, used to have various set of informations for defining one segment. But now it is not the case. You have to precisely define the segment so as to identify it as an operating segment. So if the CODM is unable to do that, then these 4 steps should be categorized in the table, and if the answers are yes, then it is an operating segment. If the answers are no, then it is not a component of the entity. That is, it is not an operating segment. First and the foremost thing that I need to do is to identify a CODM. CODM is a function rather than it is an individual. CODM is a function of an entity rather than a person. The function of the CODM is to allocate the resources and to assess the operating results of the segments of an entity. CODM's work is allocation of the resources, the assets that are in my organization. The allocation of it is done by the CODM. CODM could be an individual as a CEO, a CFO, chief operating officer, or it could be a group of such executives or your board members, management committee, a different altogether committee of an experts. All these resource allocations and everything are appointed by a board of is appointed by the board of directors. CODM can be is actually a function. So a person can also fit into that, and a committee also can fit into that. After this, I need to check whether the entity's component that I am referring to is it generating a revenue and incurring an expense from the business activities. Now it can also happen that I've just had a startup. I have actually got down into a new product line, a new business line, and the operations though have not started yet earning the revenues, and it can be an operating segment. It can be an component of the entity that sells primarily or exclusively just to the other components of the entity. My startup is just, I am having an internal transaction. That startup, that new entity, that new component that I have introduced in my organization, that is just for the intercompany, let's say supply management. It can be a supply management. It can be supplying products to the intercompany, different components, different segments. But there is one thing. Let's say I have a headquarters, my headquarters or a corporate treasury. They generate no revenue, but of course they are generating no revenue. Or if in case they are generating a revenue, it is just the incidental. So I cannot bifurcate my headquarter as an operating segment. Though it is generating revenue, but it is just incidental to my operations, to my direct operations, to the whole concept of my organization. Headquarters are just incidental to that, ancillary, let's say. So if I am having a segment that is generating the revenue and incurring the expenses, then I shall move forward. If no, then I should rather stop. Let's take the scenario where my answer to this question of generating the revenue and incurring the expenses is yes. Moving forward to the next step is regularly is it reviewed by the CODM? Regular review by the CODM is likely to be an operating segment, because in practice, a key issue in identifying the operating segment is the extent to which the operating results of the business units are aggregated for the purpose of review by the CODM. Now, CODM is the chief operating decision maker. Let's say it is a committee or an individual, whoever it is. Of course, he is going to review. They are the topmost committee authority people that they have. They are only going to review the profit making, the operational units, or those units that can incur profit, generate revenue for me. In many cases, CODM will receive and review information about the operation results of individual business units as well as the group of business units. And it may be difficult to establish which set of information the CODM uses in order to make decisions. about the resource allocation and performance assessing. In these circumstances, IFRS 8 states clearly that judgment is required and it shall be exercised by the CODM to identify the set of operating segments that best applies the core principles. So this point requires judgment of the management. IFRS 8 has actually shifted a transition from IAS 14 on the very basic role of, it has transitioned into shifted the approach from normal to management approach. Now it is a management approach, IFRS. Everything that a management thinks fit, management views are presented to the users of your financial statements. So how a management is working, what are the basis of decision making for my management, that is the core principle of IFRS 8. Now if the answer to this is no, that it is not regularly reviewed by the CODM, I should rather stop here. Let's take the continue with the same step. Like the answer to this question is still yes. Then operating segments, whether operating segments discrete financial information, specifically information that can be ascertained to that particular operating segment. Does it have a particular revenue generation? Especially expenses are incurred for operating that segment. Assets can be assigned specifically to that segment. Liabilities are ascertained on that segment. So any discrete financial information is present or not. If the answer to any of the above three steps are no, then the component cannot be classified as the operating segment. Though it can be a segment of your entity, but it does not classify the check boxes of operating segment. So it does not classifies at operating segment. And if the answers to all of these are yes, then the next step is the determination of reportable segments. We'll be moving forward to reportable segments, but for all those, just to let you be informed about it, operating segment is the first step. If it is an operating segment, only then it will be a reportable segment. I can have 10 operating segments, but the one that needs to be reported separately are reportable segments. Let's say out of 10 segments that I have, only 2 are such that should be presented separately into my financial statements. Then only 2 I have that are reportable segments. And IFRS 8 consists information's disclosure, presentation, and calculation of these reportable segments. And in order to reach the reportable segment, operating segment classification is very important. Operating segments are actually identified based on the internal reporting of financial information to the CODM. Reporting or reportable segments are actually those which are disclosed in the financial statements. And as I have informed you, operating segment and reportable segments do not need to be identical or the same all the time. The entity is required to disclose the information separately that is required by IFRS in respect to the reporting segment. For that, the first checkbox or the first necessity that I need to check is it should actually be classified as in reporting segment. It should satisfy the definition of reporting segment. And once it has satisfied the reporting segment definition, there are threshold limits that are provided under IFRS that needs to be agreed upon if my operating segment is a reportable segment. There are three threshold limits that are provided. Any one, not all, but any one of the threshold limit should be followed by any of the operating segment, and it can be classified as a reportable segment, and a separate disclosure, a separate reporting segment section should be included for that particular reportable segment in my financial statements. It can satisfy all three, but at least one is mandatory. So all of first includes is reported revenue. It's reported revenue from both external customer and inter-segment sales. This is very important. From both external customers and inter-segment sales or transfers should be 10% or more of the combined revenue, that is internal and external, of all operating segments, not the total entity, but operating segments. Second is about the reported profit and loss. So this says that the absolute measure of its reported profit or loss is 10% or more of the greater in absolute amount. Absolute amount signifies that the combined profit or combined reported profit of all the operating segments that did not report a loss, and the combined reported loss of all the operating segments that reported a loss. Absolute measure says if I have 10 operating segments, 8 of them showed profit, all the amounts is 100, and 2 of them showed loss. So my absolute measure will be higher of total profit or loss. That means 800 will be my threshold limit on which 10% will be calculated. Then is the classification or the limit is on assets. Its assets are 10% or more of the combined assets of all the operating segments. All these reported revenue or reported profit and loss or assets, all are in all of these, the total of all the operating segments is taken into account and not the total revenue of the entity, only the operating segments. The real life examples of segmenting and reporting, you can say, is like Dabur India Limited. The industry it is working is in pharma, but it has 3 different segments like FMCG, Ayurvedic products, and others. Then another we can see is Barclays PLC, that the banking industry. Barclays has different segments as in UK banking, Barclay card, Barclay capital, Barclay wealth. These are the segments in which it is operating. So these are real life examples of the of certain entities that are working under segmenting, and they provide segmental disclosures. There is one more thing that is attached under IFRS 8, which is also very important. If the total external revenue reported by operating segments constitutes less than 75% of the entity's revenue, additional operating segments must be identified as reportable segments, even if they are not meeting the quantitative threshold requirements, until at least 75% of the entity's revenue is included in reportable segments. So this says, this whole says that after I have decided on the reporting segment, what are the reportable segments? If the total of all the reportable segments revenue does not meets or does not calculate up till 75% of the total external revenue, then entity should identify additional reporting segments. Though the additional segments that have been classified by the entity does not meets the quantitative threshold limit, but it should rather on the basis of any one, maybe the asset, the profit, reported revenue on any one asset with a reasonable explanation should include that into a reportable segment. The reason being 75% of the total external revenue should be reflected by the reportable segments that are identified by the entity. Also, there is a clause that if the management identifies that an operating segment, any operating segment, maybe individually, was classified as a reportable segment in the immediately previous reporting period, contains material information for the users of financial statements, the entity will continue to classify such operating segment as reportable segment in the current reporting period, even though it is below the quantitative threshold limits, and shall disclose its information separately as per the requirement of IFRS 8. So if any of my segment was classified as a reporting segment in the last year, immediate previous year, but due to any reason in the current year, it couldn't cross the threshold limit, then it is recommended that the management should rather put it in the current year's reportable segments. Now, since we have seen the threshold limits and the all the other limits for the reportable segments, let's move on to Excel examples. Is the Excel sheet visible to all? If anyone could help me on that. The Excel sheet, I suppose, is visible to all. Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so let's move on. Yes. So this is my first case study. Larsen Limited has 8 segments, namely A to H. Now, following information is available in relation to these segments. We'll see on this information that is available. This is the segment revenue. This part is the external revenue. That is the revenue that is incurred, that is generated by dealing with the external customers, maybe domestic or foreign customers, but outside the entity. And this is the in revenue that is generated by inter-segment transactions. And this is the total revenue. So $800 is my external and 400 is my internal. That is inter-segment revenue that has been generated by transacting by inter-segments. That is maybe B to C, C to D, D to A, and so on and so forth. These are the segment results. Let's say the operating profits. These are the segment results of the operating profits. So as we can see, segment B, D, and F have incurred a loss, and the rest 5 have generated a profit. And these are the segment assets that are allocated by the CODM to these particular segments. And there is one more information that is floated, that is provided to us, that E was a reportable segment in the past year. So we have seen that any segment that was a reportable period, a reportable segment, though we'll see, of course, that whether it is segmented in this year's reporting or not. But if it is not segmented, then it shall be reported in the current year. The reason is it is recommended by the IFRS because it may have certain information that is important. So I've just revised the whole threshold limits here so that we could just identify which all units shall be reported under the financial statements, separate reporting entities, and which shall not be included. So the first one, as we know, is the 10% of the total internal and external revenue of all the operating segments. Second is 10% or more of the higher of total reported profit or the total reported loss. So whichever is higher, 10% of that. And then 10% of the total assets of all the reporting segments of the entity. Let's start looking at this from this point of view. 10% of the total revenue, my total revenue is this, because I need to include internal as well as external revenues and not only inter-segment or external only. So I'll be taking as the total revenue. So my first threshold limits is 10% of the total revenue, that is $120. So any entity or any unit that is incurring 10% or more. So here, if I see the unit that is incurring 10% or more are A and B. Coming down to segment results. Sorry, just a bit. Sorry. Yes. So it is 10% of segment results. 10% of segment results, as you can see in the comment, total loss that is incurred is 200 and the total profit is 80. So whichever is higher, 200 is higher. 10% or more of 200. So 10% is 20. So any entity that is providing a segment result of more than $20, B and C fall in that category. 180 and 30. Irrespective of that minus and plus, we are just going to look at the mod balances. Mod balances, as if we will not be taking down the minus and negative for the threshold limits. So B and C qualify for the segment results. And now it is 10% of the total assets. My total assets were 300. 10% of that is 30. So all those entities that have more than $30 of assets shall be qualifying for this. So when I look at this, I suppose this is, yes, A, B, and D are the three entities that qualify under the assets threshold limits. So if I take all these in consideration, because any one of the threshold limits needs to be followed, any one can be qualified with. All the three are not important, any one will do. So if I take A, B, C, D, which came from here, and E was my reportable entity, reportable unit from the last year, that is the reason that was also taken into account. 75% of the total external revenue. So when I'm calculating for this amount, my external revenue is only $800. I will not take into account $400 because it is inter-segment. It is within the entity. So my total external revenue here is $800. While calculating A, it came to 0. The reason is 0 has no external revenue. B, when I'm calculating, I have taken $510 and $800 is my total amount, which came down to 63.75%. Similarly for C, D, and E. E, though, has not qualified for any of the threshold limit, but it was a reportable segment in the last year, and that is the reason I have got it in the present year. Now, when I calculate all the reportable entities based on my past year and the current year threshold limits qualification, it only comes down to 73.75%. Now, I need at least 75% of the total external revenue of the entity so that I can identify reportable segments as separate segments in my financial statements. So for that reason, on the basis of assets and profits, H was chosen as a segment to make it 85%. Though H is not satisfying any of the threshold limits, but since I need to have 75% in my of the total external revenue to have identified reportable segments, that is the reason on the basis of whatever entities are left, that is F, G, and H, because all these three entities have been qualified. They have qualified for being as a reportable segment from F, G, and H on the basis of assets and profit. On the basis of assets and profit, the assets that are here in unit F are 15. Threshold limit though is 30. So nearest to it is 27. That is the unit H. And when I have $20 here, again the nearest to it is 14. That is the reason out of F, G, and H, H is qualified, H is taken by the management based on the threshold limits of profits and assets to be qualified as a reportable segment. Now, of course, when H doesn't qualify the threshold limit, it is not any past reportable segment also. So management will have to provide a specific disclosure as to why H has been taken as the segment for reporting when it is not qualifying this threshold limit or the past reporting segments. So a specific, a reasonable presentation, a reasonable disclosure needs to be provided by the management as to why they have chosen H. In this, anyone has any questions so that we can just move forward to the next one? Okay. So moving forward to the next one. This is basically in terms of, it will be helpful for you in terms of reporting. How does the reporting will be done? It is just similar to that only, but it is just for the helping of the reporting purposes. So here are the different units that are of entity. So these are the amounts of the different units that is an entity. Let's start with total sales as it is given here. Total sales that includes inter-segment sales. These are the four different units that I have. That is food products, plastic and packaging, health and scientific, and others. These are my four units or four segments in which I work. These are the amounts, and it is saying that is in inter-sales segments, that inter-segment revenues are included in these amounts. So the total revenue of my entity is $12,294. Now, these are the specific expenses that are incurred specifically by those segments. Here are the general items, let's say the overhead costs, the other items that are incurred by incidental expenses, we can say, like general expenses, that this is the income from investments, interest expenses. And now we have here is the identifiable asset. Identifiable assets as in the assets for the different units. And these are the assets that are generally owned by the entity, the whole overall the entity. And these are specified assets for these particular units. Now, other information, inter-segment revenues, that is inter-segment sales is provided. Then operating profit that is there includes inter-segment sales profit of $66. Of course, amounts are in lakhs, and information about inter-segment expenses are not available. Any expenses that have been incurred within the segments are not available, but any profit that has been generated over the inter-segment sales that is done is provided here. So now this was the amount that was given, total amount. This is the inter-segment sales that was provided, and hence we have just calculated the external sales to the external customers. These will be shown under specific units. Inter-segment elimination, of course, when we are working under different segments or between subsidiaries or various things, there is a part of inter-segment, intercompany elimination that needs to be done. And at the end, a consolidated level is presented. So this is how I've just explained it, how a basic presentation will be, how the calculations will be done at the basic levels. So my external sales pertaining to every entity, every unit are these for the external customers. Internally, this is the sales, this is the revenue that have been generated. On the total level, I have just eliminated the inter-segment sales. The reason is, if I'm presenting at a consolidated level, this needs to be eliminated. We'll be seeing it under IFRS 10, of course, but I'll just tell you this here, that inter-segment elimination needs to be done when at the consolidated level. Now, second comes is the segment expenses, expenses pertaining to the particular segments. These were the expenses that were provided to us. Of course, inter-segment expenses were not given, but inter-segment profit was available to us. So operating profit that I have achieved with this calculation is, I've just subtracted this from this. So I've achieved operating profit of pertaining to a particular segment. This amount, and this amount will be important for us to calculate and specify, identify those entities, those units that shall be reported differently. That will be a reportable segment, and all the remaining will be under all other segment units. So of course we'll be seeing looking at which are the reportable, which are the non-reportable, but this is just the general calculation that I am showing you. These are the general calculations. Of course, they are not specified and spread over the other entities, because this is the these are the general expenses and the incomes. So we've come down from the to the consolidated level of income from operations. These are the identifiable assets that are allocated to the particular entity units, and this is the corporate assets, and this is the calculation of my total assets. Simple. There is nothing more to it. It is just I have explained you the proper basic way of presentation of how the calculation and presentations will be done. Now in order, now since I have created, calculated all my expenses, income, profits, losses, etc. Now I will need to see which all, from which four, from the four, which are the two that needs to be reported. So here the first threshold limit is about the revenue. As we can see that this food and product unit has qualified for the threshold limit of the revenue, and also plastic and packaging, because it says it is 10% or more. So this is 10%. Health and scientific and others do not qualify here. So let's check for the others under segment results, that is the profits. Again, food and products qualify here, and plastic and packaging again has qualified. So these two are there until the second threshold limit. Let's calculate the, let's come down to the identifiable assets. So under identifiable assets, also only food products and plastic and packaging are the two units that shall be reported, that shall be under my reportable segments. And as we can see, it is more than 75% also. So for the external revenue also, it is more than 75%, because my external revenue here is 11,000. Calculating this is of course more than 10,000, so it will come down to around 91% or 90% around. So of course they have crossed the 75% of the total external revenue limit also. So now, as for now, food products, plastic and packaging are the two units that shall be presented as per IFRS, in accordance with IFRS 8 in segment reporting, while health and scientific will be reported under all other segments. No different disclosure, different presentation, separate reporting needs to be done for health and scientific and others unit. They shall come under all other segments. That is, in my presentation, it will see food and products, food products, plastic and packaging, and all other segments. Under all other segments, I'll specify health and scientific and and others. And at the consolidated level, this will be my amounts. So anyone has any question in this tables calculation? Of course, for the profit and loss figures that I have used, these are the profit and loss figures. Total profit is $3,516. The loss that is incurred is 36, as you can see here. So these numbers have been calculated by the profit, because whichever is higher, profit qualifies for the whichever is higher amount. These numbers are calculated at this amount of the profit. That is the calculation of these three. So anyone who has got any problem with this table of calculation? So I suppose there are no issues. In case they pop up after we have moved out from here, you can of course type your doubts in the chat box. Yes. Now coming back to the slide. Yes. Now there is something also known as aggregate segments. Aggregate segments, as in, let's come back. Let me take you back to the Excel example. here. Now let's say, as we all know that A, B, C, D, and E, these 5 units did not qualify for my 75% limit. Now I can also aggregate the revenues, or aggregate F and G together. Aggregate as in 2 or more segments can be seen as or treated as one segment for the purpose of reporting. So when I'm aggregating, if A to E, these 5 units do not qualify for my 75% limit, or any of my segments do not qualify for the threshold limits, but when I aggregate them, they do. So this is the aggregated segment that can be used for the purpose of reporting. Reportable segments. I can aggregate F and G. They shall qualify for my threshold limit, and I will, of course, they're gonna qualify for my threshold limit, and I shall present it as reportable segment under my segment reporting for IFRS 8 accordingly. Coming back to the presentation, yes. So aggregate segments means 2 or more segments are aggregated together. It means that if one of my segment does not meet the definition of a segment singly, it can meet the definition by aggregation with any other segment if segments have similar economic characteristics. Now see, as I gave you an example of Dabur India Limited, it has got 3 segments: others, Ayurvedic products, and FMCG. So I cannot aggregate FMCG with Ayurvedic products for it to qualify my threshold limit and the 75% limit, and say that this is my segment for the purpose of segment reporting or segment disclosure. It cannot be done like that. So there are certain specified points that are provided by the IFRS 8 on which the aggregation of 2 or more segments should be done. The first is, of course, similar economic characteristics is very important. Any entity may combine the financial results of 2 or more operating segments that are below the quantitative threshold limits to generate a single reportable segment. If such operating segment have similar attributes, they have similar economic characteristics. Always remember, you cannot compare apple with peaches. It has to be of a similar economic characteristic. Green apple and red apples can be compared. You cannot compare apple and peaches. So these are the certain these are the points, or rather certain points, that are provided by the IFRS that should be kept in mind when I am aggregating 2 or more segments for the purpose of reporting. Nature and the specification of the product and services of the operating segments. Of course, if Dabur India Limited aggregates FMCG and Ayurvedic or Ayurveda products, then the specification of the products will not match. So it is gonna, it will not aggregate on the based on this characteristic. Next, another one is the production process of the operating segments. The production process can include or decrease from any 1 or 2 process steps, but of course a total different process cannot be included or cannot be aggregated with a different process. 2 different processes product cannot be aggregated, or 2 different processed services cannot be aggregated if we are talking about class of services also. Then is the class of customers, the customer base that you're catering, the products and services that is used for different types of class of customers. If I am making uh, clothes, let's say, if I make into a business of textiles, if I'm making having different kind of textiles, I'm also relate retail under clothes business. Then if I am having clothes for children and adults, so I cannot aggregate these two segments because they are catering to different class of customers. The customers who are going to purchase my product are, they are different class of customers. Nature and distribution channel is very important here, because usually distribution channel does not comes in the mind for the people, for the management or CODM, when they are aggregating different product lines or different segments of the entity for it to qualify for the quantitative threshold limits. Distribution channel is one of the most important. Any product that uses two different distribution channels cannot be aggregated. If the distribution channel for one of my product is via air, and the second product is I am having shipments, that is I am using cargoes, so then those two products cannot be aggregated. And the nature of the regulatory environment and the requirements that are prevailing, like let's say the banking requirements, insurance requirements, the public usage, regulatory environment, the regulating authorities that are regulating that business, if they are different, then also my product or service or any segment cannot be aggregated. Aggregation, if I am doing, it should have a similar nature. And now we have come down to the presentation and the disclosure requirements. Now in presentation and disclosure requirements of IFRS 8 are a bit different from the other IFRSs that are in effect. When I come down to disclosure requirements for my segment reporting, disclosure requirements are required for a particular segment also and for in general also. So when I come to the general information that needs to be disclosed, it shall include the factors that are used to identify entities' reportable segments, and discussion on how the entity is organized and whether operating segments have been aggregated. What are my criteria for aggregation? What are the thoughts, or what are the bases on which I have classified and identified it to be an operating segment? And how have I reported it under the reportable segment? All those criteria needs to be specifically laid down under your disclosures. Otherwise, it would be treated as a material misstatement. And another area of disclosure is the profit and loss, assets and liabilities. For each of the reportable segment, information about profit, loss, assets and liabilities will include measure of the profit and loss, measure of my total assets, measure of the total liabilities too. If but liabilities will be included if and only if they are reviewed by the CODM for the purpose of classification. Amount of any of the following items that are either included in the measure of segment, profit or loss reviewed by the CODM or otherwise. So amounts of these items will also be taken into account when I am providing disclosures for my segments. What is the amount? Let's say if I am having an intercompany transaction, inter-segment transaction, then I will have to see whether I am transacting at arm's length price, or is there any different pricing model that is in use when I am transacting within my entity. So these are the informations that needs to be provided. Another segment or the another aspect of my disclosure consists of reconciliations. Reconciliations as in when I am reconciling my revenues, profits, assets, liabilities, any reconciliations that is done at the company level, they need to be properly specified as in what is the method used and how have I reconciled these amounts. What is the total amount? What is the bifurcated amount for my per segment? Every segment reconciliation to the total revenue needs to be done, and the basis for that needs to be laid down specifically. And then there are certain entity-wide information. Entity-wide information as in what are my geographical areas in which I am working, revenue that is from the external customers, and certain non-current assets, that too on the domestic and the foreign currencies or the foreign countries or foreign customers. Major customer base that I am catering and the product and services that I am dealing in. These are the certain disclosures that are very important that needs to be laid down when I am transacting on say entity reporting. So this was all under IFRS 8. IFRS 8 is actually a very easy IFRS. The reason being it is actually just shifted from IAS 14 to IFRS 8 in the way of just management approach. The only thing that is new under IFRS 8 is the approach of the management. It applies the management's judgment as to classify it as an operating segment and a reportable segment, to aggregate that or not. Rest everything is clearly given out that these are the threshold limits and these are the limits for the pertaining to the total revenues and reporting segments, and this is how you shall be presenting your reporting. The only thing left to the entity is the judgment of choosing it as a reportable segment or not. Rest everything is clearly laid down under the IFRS. So thank you so much. Anyone who has got any questions or something can of course put it forward. You're welcome. You with those solvings or helping you in that real life scenarios. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is fine. Everyone stays fine. Take care and shall see you tomorrow. Thank you.